Hey guys, it's Isabel from Excited Cats, and today I'm going to tell you the story of how I settled my cat Milly into her new home. I'm also going to provide you with some tips that you can use when you move to a new place or a new city or a new country and you want your cat to settle into your new home peacefully. Milly also wanted me to ask you guys this before we begin. She has a little message for you. Please subscribe to this channel and like if you enjoyed this video. Thanks. Let's begin. Day 1. She was looking around frantically and she was visibly in distress. We bought basic cat gear, a litter tray, food, 2 plastic bowls. She spent most of the time under the bed or in the cupboard, trying out different levels and just moving around in dark spaces where she felt a little bit more enclosed and safe. I also built a cat safe house and she seemed to like being in there. After a few hours at home, she became more calm and let me pet her without getting too anxious. She started walking around the room later the afternoon and she became much more comfortable around me. So she didn't eat or drink or use the litter box for the first day, and this was normal to me because she was obviously adjusting to new things and new smells and new spaces. So I think eating and drinking wasn't necessarily a priority for her at that stage. Here's some tips that I have for day 1. You have to understand that they are going to be anxious on the first day. This behavior is completely normal when getting used to a new environment. Choose a nice quiet room in the house that can be their safe room. All the doors and windows should be closed shut, and this should be a room that isn't very active or used often, but always understand that they will see this as their safe room even after they're settled in, and they'll always have a connection to this room. Also, don't check in on them too often, just give them their space. Provide lots of hiding spots, so under the bed or in the cupboard, cave beds, anything that's going to make them feel cozy and safe. Provide them with basic cat gear and necessities, so a litter box, food, fresh water, and a nice comfy place to sleep. Remove anything that could be a safety hazard. So this could be loose wires, toxic houseplants, open vents or chimneys. So any point of entry or possible escape routes should be closed off. Be patient and just give them space. Let them come to you. Don't force any interaction on the first day. The first night, she was also very restless and she meowed a lot. So on day 2, I would say at the end of day 2, she was maybe like 30% adjusted. So in the morning, she looked less anxious and she finally showed some interest in food, still looking around a lot and being very sensitive to all the noises that is around in my apartment building. So she also opened up to us a little bit more and she let us pet her and give her lots of cuddles. We showed her around the living room and let her walk around a bit. She went under the kitchen cupboards and she stayed there for about an hour. After a while, she came out and she walked around the guest room, looking out the window, very concerned, but also very curious. Her tail was just wagging non-stop, and this is a frequent occurrence for her. So new spaces can be extremely interesting for curious cats, but also very overwhelming. We also made a grass patch for her because she wasn't using her litter box. And then later on I realized it was way too small for her and she was actually just uncomfortable in it. She also really enjoys being brushed, so I made sure to brush her quite often because I could see that made her feel very relaxed. And then I showed her around again and she was more curious this time, less stressed, and a bit more open to exploring the house a little bit more. Some tips for day 2. Keep them in the safe room for the majority of the time. Slowly and gently introduce them to the rest of the house at their pace.
Make sure that any other pets or small children aren't in the vicinity, as this could freak them out. Always keep their safe room open and easily accessible when they get a fright or want to retreat back. Always keep fresh food and clean water available the whole time. They might not be interested in it right now, but you never know when the hunger might hit. Do something that you know they'll enjoy and make them relaxed. So whether this is brushing them or stroking them gently, providing some catnip, or maybe playing some calming music. Again, just remember to be patient. Although it's really exciting to have them and you want to play with them and give them love, you have to let them be in charge.
Day 3, I'd say she was around 50% adjusted. She was much more peaceful and she sleeps on the bed sometimes. I still keep the cupboard open for when there's a loud noise or she has a fright and she wants to retreat back into her safe space. I also bought a stainless steel bowl. I also got her a bigger litter box. She finally did her business since before our flight. She started interacting with us a bit more and playing around with us. I found her in the bed more often than I found her in the cupboard, so that was definitely a good sign. She became more and more comfortable in the rest of the house, and she even chilled with us in the living room that evening.
Day 3 tips. Let them roam free where they choose to and where they feel comfortable, but always having their safe room open and accessible. Make sure their resources are suitable for them. So making sure that their litter tray is big enough and you use litter that they like, high quality food, clean water. Don't force any attention, so irritating them with affection might just slow down the whole process.
Day 4 to 7. So at the end of day 7, I would say she was around 70% adjusted. So she slept on the bed with me, walked around the room comfortably, and she became more curious about the balcony. She felt comfortable with having the door open while being in her safe room. She looked more relaxed and moved around the house comfortably. Still cautious, but definitely more comfortable than the first 3 days. She sat in my laptop bag while I was working. I gave her 2 to 3 drops of CBD once per day with food. This just helped her to keep calm when there's loud noises in my building and to just help her sleep and take it easy and get used to the space. She ate a lot better than day 1 to 3. She liked sleeping in little tents I made for her, and she still enjoyed being under the bed from time to time. She took her first steps outside later, and it was so exciting for me because I literally saw how she looked at the view and she just kind of took everything in. It is quite the sighting for the first time. She definitely looked visibly at ease in the living room at the end of day 7, and I think she really started liking her new little kingdom.
Day 4 to 7 tips. Provide them with a calming agent when needed. Provide lots of comfy nooks to sleep in. Don't forget to savor these precious moments. Watching them trust you more and more and be brave and adapt to new environments is really something special.
Day 8 to 14. At the end of day 14, I'd say she was around 80% settled in. After a successful week 1, she started acting more like a cat. She was sharpening her little daggers, taking long stretched out naps, guarding the house from flies, lounging in her little grass patch, playing, stalking, and spying on the neighbors. Day 21. 3 weeks later, and she is 100% settled into her new home. She is so much softer and a little bit fatter than the first week, and she just looks happy and healthy. She's roaming around freely, loving the balcony and the view. She demands playtime at least 5 times a day. She's eating like her old carnivorous self again. She loves sunbathing in the grass and patrolling the balcony for intruder flies. and just acting like the queen she is.
So there you have it, my story and my tips that I have. I would say the most important tip of them all is just be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. You can expect anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks depending on the individual cat. Don't force anything, just be cool. As long as they feel welcome, safe and cared for, they will settle in before you know it. Make sure they've had a recent vet checkup, they're microchipped and the info is updated. Also make sure that their vaccinations are up to date before you let them maybe explore outside of the house. That's all from me today. Cheers and see you next time.